When I awoke, I remembered my own death. Emperor Gu had captured me, castrated me, and tortured me for months until infection claimed my broken body. Now I'm reborn on the very day my father will be murdered. This time I won't be the helpless prince. I'll watch Gu die begging, build an army from his enemies, and paint my throne with his blood. The innocent Prince Leon died in that other life. What rose from those ashes will never know mercy again. I stand over Emperor Gu's broken body, the palace burning around us. Blood runs from my blade as I grip his hair, forcing him to look up at me. His once arrogant face is now a mask of terror and confusion. "Do you remember me now?" I whisper. "The boy you destroyed, the prince you unmade." Recognition flashes in his eyes as I describe in chilling detail the tortures he inflicted upon me in a life that, for him, never happened. The castration, the months of humiliation, the slow death from infection and despair. "But that's impossible," he gasps. "You couldn't know that. I never." I tighten my grip on his hair, bringing his face closer to mine. I lived it. Every moment, every agony. And now, so will you. I raise my blade for the killing stroke, watching fear bloom in his eyes like a dark flower. Then I wake up screaming. My body is whole. My chambers are familiar. My mind is shattered by memories of tortures yet to come. I check the date by the calendar scroll on my wall. Today. This is the day everything begins. The day my father dies. The day my kingdom falls. The day my nightmare starts. I never told anyone what I experienced in those months as Gao's plaything. How could I? It hasn't happened yet. But I remember every second of it with perfect clarity. I throw on my robes and run through the palace corridors toward my father's chambers. The guards look startled but let me pass. I was always his favorite, his golden prince with a gentle heart. That prince died in Emperor Go's dungeon. What came back is something else entirely. I burst into my father's room where he sits with his advisors already planning the day's defense. "Father," I gasp, "Emperor Go's forces will attack before sunset. They know about the Western Passage. General Chen is a traitor. They have siege, weapons hidden in grain carts." The room falls silent. My father, King Fai, looks at me with concern. "Leon, what are you saying? How could you know this?" "Please," I beg, hating the desperation in my voice. "Trust me. I know it sounds impossible, but our lives depend on it." The memory of my father's execution flashes before my eyes, his proud head rolling across marble floors, his blood splashing Emperor Gu's boots. I can't watch it happen again. My father studies my face for a long moment. I can see the war within him. The sensible king dismisses my wild claims. The loving father sees the terror in my eyes. "We will take precautions," he says finally. "Double the guards at the Western Passage, keep watch on General Chen." It's not enough. I know it's not enough, but it's something. I was once naive about power. I believed in honor and diplomacy. In my first life, I never saw the blade coming until it was too late. I look at my father, memorizing his face. In my previous life, these were our last hours, together. This time will be different. It has to be. As the council disperses, I slip away to make my own preparations. I contact servants loyal to me, distribute hidden weapons, small pouches of gold. Knowledge is my only advantage. I know exactly how Gu's forces will enter, which corridors they'll use, which rooms they'll secure first. The sun begins its descent. My heart pounds with memories that haven't happened yet. Every sound makes me flinch. Every shadow hides an assassin. Then it begins exactly as I remember. Horns in the distance. Shouts from the western wall. The clash of steel against steel. I run toward the throne room knowing what I'll find. General Chen has already admitted Gu's elite guards through the secret passage. My father fights bravely, but he's surrounded. I arrive just in time to see Emperor Gu himself deliver the killing blow. My father's eyes find mine in his final moment. There's surprise there and something else. understanding. He believes me now, too late. I stand frozen as my father's body crumples to the floor. Emperor Gao turns, noticing me for the first time. He doesn't recognize me. Why would he? In his world, I'm just another prince to be eliminated, not the eunuch plaything I became in that erased future. The son of Fai, he says with cruel amusement, kneel before your new emperor, boy. In my first life, I fought, foolish, desperate resistance that led to my capture. I failed then because I didn't understand the game. Now I do. His soldiers surround me, weapons drawn. They expect resistance, defiance, the grief-stricken prince making a futile last stand. Instead, I surprise them all. I kneel. Wise choice, Gu laughs, waving his bloody sword. Perhaps you'll prove more reasonable than your father. I keep my eyes down, hiding the cold fury building inside me. Let him think me broken. Let him think me cowed. His arrogance blinds him to the danger before him. In my previous life, I never saw beyond my own suffering. Now I see everything. I know now that revenge isn't a lightning strike. It's a slow poison, a carefully laid trap. And I've just taken the first step. As they drag me away to the dungeons, I catch Emperor Gu's eye one last time. He smiles, thinking he's won everything. He doesn't see the answering smile that flickers across my face. I am Prince Lian, heir to the fallen kingdom of Wu. I died once at this man's hands. But death taught me patience. It taught me strategy. Most of all, it taught me how to wait for the perfect moment to strike. They throw me into a dark cell, thinking they've imprisoned a broken prince. What they've done is cage a ghost with nothing left to lose, armed with knowledge no living soul should possess. The dungeon is familiar. I spent months here before, but this time everything will be different. This time, I am the hunter, and Emperor Gu is my prey. The dungeon is cold and damp, but I've known worse, much worse. I study my jailer through the bars. Ming, young, uncertain. Father to a daughter, not yet born. Water, I croak, letting weakness show in my voice. Please. He hesitates, then brings a ladle to my lips. Perfect. Just as he did before. Thank you, I whisper. Your kindness will be rewarded when your daughter is born. His eyes widen. My wife isn't with child. She is, I say softly. 3 weeks along, a girl. She'll have a birthmark shaped like a crescent moon on her shoulder. Ming steps back, fear replacing suspicion. How could you know that? I've seen his daughter. In my previous life, he showed me a sketch of her before Emperor Gu had him executed for smuggling me medicine. I see things sometimes, I tell him. Fragments of what will be. Your daughter will be beautiful, Ming, but there's danger. What danger? His voice trembles. A fever when she's 3. It takes many children in the capital. But it can be prevented. With the right herbs. He's fully mine now, I can see it in his eyes. The fear of a father for his unborn child overshadows any loyalty to Gu. I remember the first time I died. I was nobody then. Just another broken toy for Gu's amusement. This time will be different. I need information, I tell Ming. Guard rotations. Which key opens the east corridor? He hesitates only briefly before whispering what I need to know. By the 3rd day, he's bringing me extra food, medicine for my bruises, information about the palace defenses. I learn that Emperor Gu has already moved into my father's chambers, that he wears my father's crown while drinking my father's wine. The thought burns inside me, fueling my resolve. On the 7th night, I make my move. The guard change at midnight leaves a brief window where the eastern corridor is unwatched. I'd learned this during my months of captivity before. Ming has left the door unlocked, a pouch of herbs for his wife hidden under my straw mattress. I slip through darkened hallways, avoiding the creaking floorboard near the armory, ducking into alcoves when distant footsteps approach. The palace I grew up in has become a labyrinth of dangers, yet I move with the confidence of someone who has navigated these perils before, because I have. I reach the eastern wall where I know a weakness exists in the foundation, a passage once used by servants for clandestine affairs forgotten in the official plans. I discovered it during a desperate escape attempt in my previous life. I failed then. I won't fail now. The stones move aside with a practiced push. Cold night air rushes in, filling my lungs with the taste of freedom. I squeeze through the gap, emerging outside the palace walls. The imperial city spreads below me, lanterns glowing like earthbound stars. Somewhere in that maze of streets, Gu's soldiers are searching for conspirators, executing nobles loyal to my father. I have no time to grieve for them. My revenge requires patience, strategy. I travel for 7 days, avoiding main roads, stealing food from farms when necessary. My once soft prince's hands blister and bleed. My body, never pushed to such limits in this life, screams with each new dawn. But pain is an old friend now. We understand each other. My destination lies in the northern mountains. Warlord Zhao, fierce enemy of Gu, master of the mountain passes. In my previous life, I heard guards speaking of Zhao's resistance, how Gu spent years trying to crush him without success. By the 8th day, I reached Zhao's territory. His scouts find me quickly. Rough men with rougher hands drag me before their master. They think I'm a spy. A trap. Who are you? Zhao demands from his seat of carved stone. He's larger than I expected, battle-scarred and imposing. Prince Lian of Wu, I answer, keeping my voice steady despite my exhaustion. Son of King Fai. Murmurs ripple through the gathered warriors. My name is known, even here. The dead prince? Zhao says with narrowed eyes. Captured by Gu, they say. I escaped. Convenient timing, he growls. Coming to us when Gu's forces approach from the east. I look up sharply. They attack at dawn. Fire arrows first, then mounted soldiers through the lower pass. Zhao's hand moves to his sword. How do you know this? Test me, I challenge. Set your defenses as I suggest. If I'm wrong, execute me yourself. Something in my eyes gives him pause. The eyes of someone who has already died once, who fears nothing. Hours later, we stand on the eastern battlements. The horizon brightens with approaching dawn. Zhao's men are positioned exactly where I directed, an unconventional defense that left many of his captains grumbling. If you've led us into a trap, Zhao warns, you'll die screaming. I say nothing. I've heard that threat before from a far more frightening man. The first rays of sun break over the mountains. For one heartbeat, nothing happens. Zhao's hand tightens on his sword hilt. Then the sky fills with fire. Hundreds of burning arrows arc toward us, exactly as I predicted. Zhao's men are ready, shields raised in the formation I specified. Not one arrow finds its mark. Mounted soldiers next, I say calmly as horns sound in the distance. Through the lower pass, thinking to catch you from behind. Zhao watches in stunned silence as his hidden forces spring the ambush I designed, cutting down Gu's elite cavalry in the narrow passage. By midday, it's over. A decisive victory. Zhao's warriors look at me with newfound respect, tinged with fear. You have a ghost size, Zhao tells me that night over rice wine. What happened to you, Prince Lian? I consider my words carefully. The full truth would sound like madness, yet I need this man's allegiance. I died, I say simply. Now I've returned to collect a debt in blood. Something in my tone convinces him. He doesn't ask for details. Some horrors are better left unspoken. What do you want from me? He asks instead. An army. My voice is soft but carries the weight of absolute certainty. Emperor Gu took everything from me, my father, my kingdom, my future. I will take everything from him, but I need soldiers. And why should I risk my men for your vengeance? I smile for the first time since my rebirth. Because I know every weakness in Gu's defenses, every secret passage into his strongholds, every corrupt official willing to betray him for the right price. I lean forward, lowering my voice. And I know where he keeps his treasury. The path ahead is clear now. I am Prince Leon, heir to a fallen kingdom. Once I was a victim. Now I am becoming something far more dangerous. A man with nothing to lose, armed with knowledge of a future that will never come to pass. Gu sits on my father's throne, believing himself untouchable. He doesn't realize that his doom has already been set in motion. By the very prince he will never have the chance to break. 2 years transformed me from fugitive prince to shadow commander. My strategic knowledge, gleaned from a future that will never happen, proves devastatingly effective against Gu's forces. 3 warlords now bow to my banner. Thousands of soldiers march at my command. Villages that once feared rebellion now open their gates willingly to the Phoenix Prince, the ruler reborn from ashes. Tales spread of my prophetic abilities, my uncanny knowledge of enemy movements before they happen. I encourage these whispers. Fear and awe serve my purpose better than truth. The War Council gathers in Zhao's fortress. Maps spread across rough wooden tables show our latest victories marked in red. Imperial forces retreat on all fronts, their supposedly brilliant strategies anticipated and countered before they're even implemented. Your insights are unnatural, Lord Chen says, the newest warlord to join our alliance. How do you know Gu's mind so well? I allow myself a cold smile. I know my enemy better than he knows himself. Better than he could possibly imagine. I lived under his boot as a broken thing. I memorized his habits, his weaknesses, his perverted cruelties. Knowledge bought with my own blood and dignity. A messenger enters, clutching a sealed scroll. News, from the capital, he announces, bowing deeply. I break the seal, scanning the contents. My face betrays nothing, though my heart lurches painfully against my ribs. Emperor Gu has taken a new favorite, I inform my generals. Lady Wei, daughter of the former Duke of Yanling. A portrait is produced, passed among the War Council. When it reaches me, my composure cracks for the first time in 2 years. I stare into familiar eyes, a face I thought lost forever. Wei, my childhood friend, my first love, believed dead in the invasion that killed my father. In my previous life, I never knew her fate. I was captured too quickly, my world narrowing to the confines of Gu's torture chambers. But now, seeing her portrait among Gu's possessions churns my stomach with fresh rage. This could be useful, General Lin, my chief advisor, suggests. A connection in the imperial court. Before I can respond, another messenger arrives. This one moves cautiously, eyes darting around the room as if expecting assassins. I bring word from Lady Wei herself, he whispers. For Prince Leon's ears only. The council chamber empties reluctantly. When we are alone, the messenger delivers his news. Lady Wei has positioned herself as Gu's consort deliberately, he explains. She seeks to avenge her father, who was executed after your kingdom fell. She offers herself as your eyes and ears in the palace. My generals would see this as a miraculous advantage, the perfect spy in Gu's bedchamber. But I see the danger with painful clarity. In my erased future, I watched Gu break stronger souls than Wei. I witnessed his particular talent for twisting minds until loyalty becomes meaningless. His perverse pleasure in corrupting the pure. Wei doesn't know what she faces. She cannot possibly understand. That night, I summon General Lin to my private chambers. Lin has become my most trusted advisor, though I trust no one fully. Not anymore. We have a unique opportunity, I tell him, pouring rice wine with steady hands. Lady Wei has access to information that could destroy Gu. Lin nods enthusiastically. We must use this advantage immediately. Have her identify weaknesses, assassination, opportunities. I sip my wine slowly. We will feed her false information to pass to Gu. When he discovers her deception, her fate will draw his attention while we strike from the west. Lin's cup halts halfway to his lips. She is your friend, he protests. She risks everything for you. In war, every piece must be played, I respond, my eyes empty. Even those we once loved. I see shock in Lin's face, quickly masked. He doesn't understand. How could he? He hasn't lived through what I have. Hasn't felt what it means to be truly powerless. I am Prince Lian, commander of the rebellion against Emperor Gu. Once, I was a gentle soul who valued friendship and honor. Above all, that prince died screaming on Gu's torture table, unmade by pain and humiliation. What rose from those ashes cannot afford such luxuries as mercy or compassion. The false intelligence operation begins immediately. We feed Wei carefully crafted, lies about troop movements, battle plans that will never be implemented, alliances that don't exist. Through her, Gu receives a carefully constructed fiction designed to lure his forces into a devastating trap. Meanwhile, our true strength gathers in the western provinces, preparing for the most ambitious assault yet. 3 army groups will converge on Gu's second-largest city, cutting off vital supply routes to the capital. I dream of Wei some nights, her smile when we were children, racing through palace gardens. The way she taught me to name constellations in summer skies. In those dreams, I am whole again, unscarred by memories of a future that hasn't happened. I wake from such dreams feeling hollow. The weakness they represent cannot be tolerated. The Western offensive begins with shocking success. Gao's forces, redeployed to counter our fictional Eastern advance, are caught completely unprepared. City after city falls to our armies. Reports arrive daily of our victories. The rebellion grows stronger by the hour. Common people rally to our cause, weary of Gao's crushing taxes and cruel punishments. They call me the Phoenix Prince, returned from death to restore justice. If only they knew what truly rose from those ashes. Then comes the news I've been anticipating with dread. Lady Wei has been discovered. Emperor Gu, realizing he's been fed false information, has ordered her public torture to extract what she knows about my plans. My generals expect rage. They await orders for an immediate rescue attempt. Instead, I calmly issue commands for our next offensive. Their confusion is evident, though none dare question me openly. That evening, a scout returns with eyewitness details of Wei's ordeal. She was tortured in the central square of the capital. Emperor Gu personally supervised, breaking her fingers one by one when she refused to reveal my whereabouts. Throughout her agony, she maintained her silence. Her final words before execution were reported to be, "The phoenix rises. Long live Prince Lian." I listen to this report without expression. When the scout finishes, I dismiss him with a nod, returning to battle plans as if nothing significant has occurred. Later that night, I slip away from the war camp. In a small clearing beneath star-filled skies, I place a single white flower on a makeshift altar. The same flowers Wei once braided into crowns when we were children. With steady hands, I set the blossom ablaze, watching dispassionately as it curls and blackens. Smoke rises toward distant stars she once named for me. Behind me, a twig snaps. I turn to find General Lin watching from the shadows, his face troubled. "You cried out in your sleep last night," he says quietly. "About castration, about abuses that never happened to you." The question hangs unspoken between us. I consider lying, dismissing his concerns, but perhaps the time for certain truths has come. "I lived another life," I tell him flatly. "I was captured when my kingdom fell. Emperor Gu had me castrated, turned me into his plaything. I endured months of torment before dying of my wounds. Then I woke up, on the very day my father was murdered, with perfect memory of everything that happened." Lin's face pales in the moonlight. "That's impossible." "So is predicting enemy movements before they happen," I counter. "So is knowing about secret passages and weaknesses in seemingly impregnable fortresses." Understanding dawns in his eyes, horror close behind it. "I am not the prince who died," I continue, watching the fear grow in his expression. "I am vengeance incarnate. I will sacrifice anything, anyone, to see Gao suffer as I suffered." even myself. Lin swallows hard, then kneels, head bowed. I serve the Phoenix Prince, he pledges, voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. Until death and beyond. I accept his loyalty with a nod. The fear doesn't concern me. Fear is useful. Love is not. I am Prince Leon, architect of Emperor Gao's destruction. The path to vengeance requires sacrifice. Wei understood this. In time, others will too. Or they will burn with everything else. Morning brings reports of another victory. Our forces crush Gu's southern army using tactics I remember from my previous life. His famed cavalry formation crumbles against defenses specifically designed to counter it. Imperial soldiers surrender by the hundreds, their famed discipline shattered by our uncanny ability to anticipate their every move. They're calling it a miracle, General Lin tells me as we survey captured Imperial weapons and supplies. The common soldiers believe you can read minds. I allow myself a cold smile. Let them think what they want. Fear serves us better than truth. The rebellion grows stronger each day. Villages that once feared Gu's reprisals now openly support our cause, providing food, shelter, and recruits. My army swells with fighters eager to serve the Phoenix Prince, the ruler who seemingly cannot be defeated. At our war council, I spread maps of the Imperial heartland. The capital itself is now within reach. My generals lean forward eagerly as I outline our next campaign. Emperor Gu has withdrawn his remaining forces to defend the capital, I explain, pointing to troop concentrations only I could possibly know about. He believes his walls impenetrable. His confidence will be his downfall. The plan I propose is audacious. 3 simultaneous attacks from different directions, each targeting a known weakness in the capital's defenses. Weaknesses I learned about during my months as Gu's prisoner in that erased timeline. How can you be certain about these vulnerabilities? Lord Chen asks, his tone respectful but cautious. I study my enemy, I answer simply. While he studies battlefield maps, I study him. I studied him intimately, from beneath his boot, from beneath his blade. I memorized his habits, his weaknesses, his patterns of thought, because understanding my tormentor was the only power available to my broken self in that other life. That night I dream of Wei again. Not the childhood friend who taught me constellations, but the woman who died screaming my name in the capital square. In my dream, she asks why I didn't save her, why I used her as a pawn in my grand strategy. I wake cold and hollow, pushing away such useless sentiments. Wei's sacrifice served its purpose. Her death distracted Gu, made him predictable in his cruelty. Emotions have no place in war, no place in revenge. I am Prince Leon, architect of Emperor Gao's destruction. Once I valued love and compassion above all. That prince died in unimaginable agony. What rose from those ashes cannot afford such weaknesses. The offensive begins at dawn. Our forces move with precision born of perfect intelligence. Imperial defenses, formidable against conventional attacks, crumble before strategies specifically designed to exploit their weaknesses. By midday, our forward units breach the outer ring of capital defenses. Imperial defenders retreat in disarray, shocked by the speed and precision of our advance. Reports reach me hourly of new victories, new territorial gains. The Emperor has ordered his personal guard to the palace, Scout reports. He executes any messenger who brings bad news. Exactly as he did before. Gu's patterns are predictable to me. His arrogance, his cruelty, his panic when confronted with failure. As darkness falls, I call my generals together. The capital lies before us. Its inner defenses still formidable but compromised. The final assault begins tomorrow, I announce. But tonight, I have a different mission, one I must undertake alone. General Lin steps forward, concern evident in his eyes. My prince, the risk is too great. The risk is calculated, I reply calmly. I know passages into the Imperial Palace that appear on no maps. Passages I can navigate blindfolded, because I crawled through them in desperate escape attempts before. Because I was dragged through them to Gu's torture chambers. Because some knowledge can only be purchased with blood and dignity, I don my darkest clothes. No armor, which would only slow my silent movement. Only a short blade at my hip and smaller daggers concealed in my boots. The weapons of an assassin, not a prince. If I don't return, I tell Lin, continue the assault as planned. The Emperor falls tomorrow with or without me. He clasps my arm, his eyes troubled. May your ancestors guide your blade, Phoenix Prince. I slip into the night, moving through shadows toward the capital walls. The knowledge of secret paths burns in my mind, guiding my steps with grim certainty. A drainage tunnel beneath the eastern wall, long forgotten on official maps. A servant's passage abandoned generations ago when newer quarters were built. I was Prince Leon, heir to the kingdom of Wu. Now I am a shadow, a ghost in the night, carrying death on silent feet toward the heart of my enemy's power. The imperial palace rises before me, its grand architecture once a symbol of awe, now a monument to tyranny. Guards patrol in patterns I anticipated, allowing me to slip between their routes with practiced ease. I find the hidden entrance exactly where I remember it, a decorative panel in an older section of the palace concealing a narrow passage built centuries ago for concubines to visit royal chambers unobserved. In my previous life, I discovered it while attempting escape, only to be recaptured and punished severely for my defiance. The passage is narrow and dark, thick with dust and cobwebs. I move silently, counting steps, navigating by memory through the lightless corridor. Every turn, every junction is mapped in my mind with perfect clarity. I emerge into a servant's alcove near the imperial chambers. Palace life continues around me, unaware of the intruder in their midst. Servants hurry, past, their faces tense with the knowledge of impending doom as rebel forces mass outside the walls. Moving from shadow to shadow, I approach Emperor Go's private quarters. 2 guards stand at attention outside ornate doors. Their posture is perfect, their discipline impeccable. They die silently, my daggers finding the gaps in their armor, with surgical precision. I enter chambers that featured prominently in my nightmares. Rich tapestries, jade ornaments, silk cushions, the luxurious surroundings where I was once humiliated and broken. The imperial bedroom lies just ahead. My hand tightens on my blade. One strike, one moment of perfect vengeance. Then it will end. I push the door open silently, slipping into the darkened room. A figure lies on the massive bed, silk canopies billowing gently in the night breeze. I approach with the silence of death itself, blade raised. The figure stirs, sitting up suddenly. Not Emperor Go. Who goes there? A familiar voice demands. I freeze, blade suspended in midair. The face that turns toward me steals the breath from my lungs. Wei. Alive. Leon, she whispers, squinting into the darkness. Is it really you? Impossible. I received confirmation of her execution. I burned offerings for her spirit. You're dead, I manage, my voice barely audible. A deception, she explains quickly, rising from the bed. Emperor Gu had another executed in my place. He suspected a spy but couldn't prove it was me. I've been waiting, working from within, weakening his position for your final assault. She steps closer, her face now visible in the dim moonlight filtering through silk curtains. Her eyes are the same. Her smile. But something feels wrong. Where is the Emperor, I demand, refusing to lower my blade. Called away to deal with reports of your army. He'll return by dawn. She reaches for my hand. We have time to plan his downfall together. I step back, studying her face. In this life, I never saw Wei captured, never witnessed her torture. But the memory of my own suffering at Go's hands makes me cautious. Tell me something only Wei would know, I challenge, blade still raised. Something from our childhood. Her smile falters slightly. We used to watch stars together in the palace gardens. You could never remember the constellations, so I taught you to see pictures in them instead. The details are correct, yet something in her manner strikes me as rehearsed. What constellation was my favorite? I press. A hesitation, brief but unmistakable. The dragon, of course. Wrong. I preferred the phoenix even then. An irony not lost on me now. Understanding crashes through me with nauseating clarity. This is Gao's trap. Wei is either an imposter or has been broken and turned against me. Either way, I've walked willingly into danger. I am Prince Lian, commander of the rebellion against Emperor Gu. Once I would have embraced Wei without question, overcome by emotion at finding her alive. That prince died long ago. What remains is colder, sharper, more dangerous. Where were you tortured? I asked suddenly. What methods did Gu use? Her eyes widened slightly. I told you I wasn't actually tortured. And yet you know details of our childhood no stranger could know. I stepped closer, blade unwavering. Unless someone told you. Unless your information was extracted from the real Wei before her death. Fear flashes across her features, quickly masked. Leon, you're not thinking. Clearly it's me. Wei would know I'm thinking more clearly than I ever have. I press the tip of my blade against her throat. Tell Emperor Gu his trap failed. Tell him the Phoenix Prince is coming for him, and nothing will stop me now. I see the moment her pretense breaks. The false warmth vanishes from her eyes, replaced by cold calculation. He said you were clever, she admits, her voice completely changed. But not how broken you've become. The prince I studied wouldn't threaten a woman's life. That prince is dead, I tell her simply. You never knew him. I bind the false Wei with silk cords from the imperial bed. Her protests fall on deaf ears. My heart feels nothing. No grief for the real Wei. No sympathy for this imposter. Only cold determination. Guards will check on me soon, she warns. You'll never escape the palace alive. I smile thinly. I died here once already. The experience was educational. I slip back into the passage I came through, leaving her bound and gagged. The alarm will sound soon. I need to move quickly. Instead of retreating, I press deeper into the palace. My target has changed. If I cannot reach Emperor Gao tonight, I will gather intelligence for tomorrow's assault. The layout of imperial defenses, the positions of elite guards, weaknesses I might have missed even in my detailed memories. I navigate through servant corridors and forgotten passages with ghostly familiarity. Each turn, each doorway triggers flashes of my previous life. Here, I was dragged bleeding after my first escape attempt. There, I was displayed before sneering courtiers, my mutilated body an object of morbid curiosity. The memories fuel my resolve, sharpen my focus. I am Prince Lian, rightful heir to the kingdom of Wu. I died in these halls, broken and humiliated. I returned for vengeance. Voices echo ahead. I press into an alcove, blending with shadows as two imperial ministers hurry past. They're whispered, conversation clear in the quiet corridor. The emperor demands results. The rebel army grows stronger by the hour. We've lost the outer districts already. The inner defenses might not hold another day. He executes anyone who speaks of retreat. 3 generals yesterday. His personal guard grows restless. Exactly as before. Gao's pattern of increasing paranoia, turning against his own advisors when faced with defeat. I store this information carefully. Dissent in the imperial ranks could be exploited tomorrow. Distant shouts signal the discovery of my intrusion. Time to leave. I retrace my steps through the labyrinthine palace, moving swiftly but cautiously. Guards rush past, oblivious to the shadow that presses against the wall mere feet away. I reach the hidden passage moments before a contingent of soldiers rounds the corner. Slipping inside, I pull the panel shut just as torchlight floods the corridor. The pursuit continues past my hiding place, boots pounding on polished floors. I escape death tonight. Tomorrow I bring it back with me. Outside the palace walls, I move through the sleeping city like a vengeful spirit. The capital I once loved is now a prison for its people. Shop fronts are boarded. Streets deserted after curfew. Imperial proclamations posted on every corner. Threaten death for the slightest resistance. By the time I reach our forward camp, dawn breaks on the horizon. General Lin rushes to meet me, relief evident in his face. We feared the worst, he admits. The palace was in uproar all night. A trap, I explain briefly, using Wei's memory as bait. It failed. I call my commanders together, updating our assault plans based on what I observed. The Imperial forces are more disorganized than anticipated. Gu's paranoia has crippled his command structure, leaving defensive positions poorly coordinated. We attack at midday, I announce. Full force, all three approaches simultaneously. The Emperor expects us to wait for reinforcements. We will not give him time to recover. As the generals disperse to prepare their units, Lin remains behind, studying me with concerned eyes. You look like you've seen a ghost, he observes quietly. Many, I admit. The palace holds memories I would rather forget. Memories that never happened in this timeline. Memories of pain beyond imagination, of dignity stripped away piece by piece until nothing remained but animal suffering. Lin nods, not understanding but respectful of my dark mood. Rest, my prince. The final battle approaches. I smile grimly. I'll rest when Gao's head adorns my lance. The assault begins precisely at midday. Our forces advance from 3 directions, overwhelming Imperial defenses with coordinated precision. I lead the center column personally, my banner flying proudly for all to see. No more shadows. No more stealth. Let Go know exactly who comes, for him. The outer defenses fall within hours. Imperial soldiers retreat in disarray, some surrendering, others fleeing into the city. Citizens emerge from their homes, cheering the rebel army that promises liberation. By sunset, we breach the Imperial district. Palace guards make their final stand on the grand steps leading to Gu's sanctuary. They fight with the desperate courage of men who know defeat means death. Their loyalty is not to the Emperor, but to their own survival. I cut through their ranks, my blade singing with years of cultivated hatred. Each stroke fueled by memories of torment. Each fallen guard, bringing me closer to the architect of my suffering. Night falls as we secure the outer palace. Gu has retreated to his inner sanctum with his remaining loyal guards. Tomorrow will see the final confrontation, the culmination of my rebirth's purpose. I order my troops to rest in shifts, to prepare for what will be a difficult final push. The Imperial inner sanctum is defensible, designed to protect the Emperor even if the rest of the palace falls, but I have no intention of waiting until morning. Under cover of darkness, I slip away from my own guards, no generals, no advisors. This final confrontation must be mine alone. I use a passage I discovered in my previous life, during desperate crawls through the palace walls seeking any means of escape. A servant's tunnel, forgotten when newer sections were built, leading directly to the Emperor's private meditation chamber. The passage is narrow and dark, choked with dust and forgotten secrets. I navigate by memory, by the map burned into my mind through suffering. I emerge into a dimly lit chamber adorned with religious icons. Golden Buddhas and jade Taoist sages watch with empty eyes as I pass. Incense burns in bronze holders, the sweet scent masking the smell of fear that permeates the Imperial sanctum. Voices guide me forward. I recognize one immediately. Emperor Gao, his tone sharp with anger and fear. The other voice belongs to an advisor, pleading for permission to negotiate with the rebel forces. Surrender to a dead prince, Go snarls. I will not bow to ghosts. I step into the doorway, allowing myself to be seen. Then you will die, to one. Both men whirl toward me, shock written across their faces. The advisor stumbles backward. Gu reaches for a ceremonial sword mounted on the wall. Guards, he shouts, his voice cracking. They cannot hear you, I tell him calmly. Not through these walls, not through these doors. I close the distance between us slowly, savoring his growing panic. This mighty emperor, this destroyer of kingdoms, reduced to a cornered rat. "Who are you?" he demands, brandishing his sword with unpracticed hands. "How did you get in here?" "Your creation," I answer. "The boy you unmade and remade. The prince you turned into a monster." Confusion crosses his face. In this timeline, he never captured me, never tortured me, never reduced me to a broken plaything for his amusement. "I never touched you," he protests, backing away as I advance. "You escaped when your kingdom fell." "In this life," I agree. "But I remember the other one. Every cut, every humiliation, every moment of agony as you stripped away my manhood and my humanity." Understanding dawns in his eyes, followed by genuine fear. Not the anxiety of a ruler facing defeat, but the primal terror of a man confronting something beyond his comprehension. "That's impossible," he whispers. "So is predicting your every move before you make it," I counter. "So is navigating secret passages that appear on no maps. So is building an army that systematically dismantled your empire in less than 3 years." I describe his torture techniques in vivid detail, the specific tools he preferred, the particular pleasure he took in certain forms of degradation, things no one could possibly know. With each word, the blood drains further from his face. The sword trembles in his hand. "What are you?" he asks finally. "Vengeance," I reply simply. "Returned from a grave you dug, but haven't yet filled." He lunges suddenly, desperation lending strength to his untrained arm. I sidestep easily, my own blade flicking out to slash his forearm. First blood. A minor wound, strategically, placed to weaken his sword arm without ending the confrontation too quickly. "You taught me much about pain," I tell him as he clutches his bleeding arm. Now, I return the lesson. He backs away, true panic setting in. "Guards, anyone." "No one is coming," I assure him. "You're alone with the ghost of your own cruelty." He makes another desperate attack. Again I counter easily, opening a second wound on his thigh. He stumbles, falling to one knee. "I'll give you anything," he gasps. "Gold, power, I'll name you my heir." I laugh, the sound empty of humor. "You offer what was already mine by right? The throne you stole by murdering my father? The future you destroyed?" I kick the sword from his weakened grasp. It skitters across polished marble, coming to rest beneath a golden Buddha's serene gaze. "I didn't come for negotiations," I tell him, my voice soft but carrying the weight of years of cultivated hatred. "I came to watch you break." The realization of his fate settles over him like a shroud. Emperor Gu, conqueror of kingdoms, torturer of princes, looks up at me with the eyes of a man who sees his own doom. "Please," he whispers. "Mercy." "Did you show mercy when I begged?" I ask quietly. "When my father begged? When Wei begged?" I grab his hair, forcing him to look into my eyes. "I want you to understand something before you die. Everything you built has already fallen. Your armies defeated. Your officials executed or turned against you. Your legacy erased." Terror blooms in his eyes, more complete than any physical pain could produce. "And now," I whisper, "you face judgment not from a prince, but from the ghost you created." I raise my blade, watching fear blossom across his face like a dark flower. Gu attempts one final, desperate lunge for survival. He breaks free of my grip and scrambles toward a hidden panel in the wall. I let him run. Let him believe escape is possible. The fleeting hope makes his capture all the more satisfying. His fingers scrabble at the wooden panel, searching for the release mechanism. I approach unhurried, confident. When his hand finally finds the latch, he turns to me with a triumphant smile. "Not this time," he gloats, yanking the panel open to reveal the narrow passage beyond. He doesn't make it 3 steps before finding his path blocked. The passage where he expected escape holds only a solid wall of stone. His expression crumbles into confusion. "I sealed it 2 days ago," I explain calmly, "along with every other secret exit from your chambers. Planning, precision, patience. The three virtues I mastered in death and rebirth. I studied this palace in 2 lifetimes. While Gu grew complacent in his power, I methodically eliminated every avenue of escape. I grab him by the collar, dragging him back into the imperial chamber. His struggles are pitiful, undignified. The mighty emperor reduced to a frightened animal. Please, he begs. I can give you power, the throne, anything. You have nothing I want except your suffering, I answer. I throw him to the floor. He crawls backward until his shoulders hit the wall. Nowhere left to run. I am Prince Leon, heir to the kingdom of Wu. In another life I died broken and defiled by this man's hands. That prince was gentle and forgiving. I am not him. Not anymore. I begin methodically. The first cut mirrors one I received during my initial torture session in that erased timeline. Not deep enough to kill, just enough to teach the meaning of helplessness. Gao screams. I remember screaming too, until my voice gave out. This is how you began with me, I tell him, my voice clinical and detached. A strategic cut to demonstrate control without risking death too quickly. The second wound matches another I once received. Precise. Calculated for maximum pain with minimum risk to vital organs. Gu's screams turn to whimpers, begging, promises, bargains. You said the same things to my father before you executed him, I observe. Promises meant to be broken. Mercy never intended. For each scar I remember receiving, I inflict its twin on Gu. For each humiliation, a calculated response. I recite from memory his own mocking words from that erased timeline. As I work, his eyes widen with each phrase, each detail no one could possibly know. Outside, the battle for the palace continues. Distant sounds of fighting echo through stone walls. My forces advancing room by room, securing the imperial seat of power. They will find us eventually, but not before justice is complete. Your army has abandoned you, I inform him between precise cuts. Your officials have surrendered. Your empire crumbles while you bleed. His eyes dart frantically around the room, searching for salvation that will never come. The mighty emperor who once held life and death in his hands now understands true powerlessness. Just as I did. The door bursts open. General Lin leads a contingent of soldiers into the chamber, weapons drawn. They freeze at the tableau before them, the rebel prince standing over the bleeding emperor. My prince, Lin says cautiously. We secured the palace. The imperial forces have surrendered. Excellent timing, I reply without looking away from Gu's broken form. You're just in time to witness justice. More soldiers fill the room. My generals, Warlord Zhao, commanders who fought beside me for 3 years. They watch in silent horror as I continue my methodical work. None dare interfere. None question my right to this vengeance. Gu's resistance weakens. His pleas become incoherent. When he finally breaks completely, begging incoherently for mercy, I meet Lin's troubled gaze. Bring the ceremonial blade, I command. The one used to execute my father. Lin hesitates only briefly before dispatching a soldier to retrieve it. Minutes later, the ornate weapon is placed in my hands. Gold filigree on the handle, imperial dragons along the blade. The same sword that took King Fai's life years ago. I lift Go's head by his hair, forcing him to look into my eyes one final time. Know this before you die, I tell him, voice carrying, in the silent chamber. Everything you built is destroyed, everything you conquered is lost, your name will be erased from history, your legacy one of failure and disgrace. Understanding blooms in his eyes, a deeper agony than physical pain could ever achieve. Please, he whispers one final time. I execute him with a single stroke. The same swift cut he used on my father. Blood splashes across my face, my hands, my clothes. I feel nothing but cold satisfaction as his body crumples to the floor. Silence falls over the assembled soldiers and commanders. They stare at me with mingled awe and fear. The Phoenix Prince, the ruler reborn from death to bring vengeance. I wipe the blade clean on a silk imperial tapestry. Bring the imperial crown, I command. No one questions me. No one dares. I was once Prince Leon, heir to a small but proud kingdom. I died unmade by torture and humiliation. What rose from those ashes is something else entirely, something forged in suffering and tempered by rage. The imperial crown is brought before me on a cushion of red silk, ancient gold set with precious stones, the symbol of power over all the lands once divided into warring kingdoms. Blood still dripping from my hands, I take the dragon throne. The ceremonial words are spoken, oaths of loyalty offered, my coronation performed amid the carnage, the imperial crown placed on my head as Gu's body lies cooling at my feet. The throne feels cold beneath me, hard, unyielding, just as I have become. Later, as imperial officials and nobles kneel before their new emperor, General Lin approaches cautiously. The people celebrate in the streets, he informs me. They call you Emperor Leon the Just, liberator from tyranny. I almost laugh at the irony. There's nothing just about what I have become, nothing noble in the cold emptiness where my heart once resided. What kind of ruler will you be now that your vengeance is complete? Lin asks quietly, his eyes searching mine for some glimpse of the prince I once was. For a moment, I see the ghosts of all who died for my revenge, my father, standing proud as he always did. Wei, her smile bright despite the darkness that claimed her. Countless soldiers who followed the Phoenix banner believing in restoration rather than retribution. A flicker of the young prince I once was emerges as I consider redemption. The possibility of healing the land my vengeance has left scarred. Of becoming the ruler my father raised me to be rather than the monster Gu created. The moment passes like morning mist before harsh sun. That prince died screaming on a torturer's table. What remains cannot return to innocence. I turn to my generals, my voice cold and clear in the hushed throne room. Execute every member of Gu's former court, I command, down to the lowest servant who might have witnessed his rule. Leave no one who served him willingly. Shock ripples through the assembled officials. Even Lin pales at the scope of my decree. My emperor, he begins cautiously. Some were forced to serve under threat of death. Some have families, children. I fix him with an empty stare. The fire purifies, I say simply, and I am still burning. The throne room doors close on my command. Guards escort the stunned generals to begin implementing my first decree as emperor. The dragon throne, soaked in blood and suffering, has a new master. One who understands its true nature. I sit alone in the gathering darkness, surrounded by the trappings of absolute power. Victory should taste sweet. Vengeance should bring peace. Instead, I feel nothing but the cold certainty that Gu's final victory was not in what he did to me, but in what he turned me into. I am Emperor Leon, ruler of all the kingdoms. In destroying my enemy, I have become him. Perhaps that was always the price of perfect vengeance. The innocent prince is truly dead. What rules in his place is a creature of ash and shadow, born in fire and blood. The phoenix risen not to restore but to consume everything in its path. And I am still burning,